WND Live. It's Friday. We are on, and boy, we're gonna eat some Kamala's word salads today. They're some of the most entertaining parts of politics these days is Kamala Harris. But we're also going to head down to the border because that's where vice presidential candidate JD Vance, he made his trip down to check on Biden's border crisis. And then, of course, we cannot ignore what is going on in the Olympics still to this day. I don't know how many days we're only ending into the first week of the Olympics, but there's so much going on that we're going to continue to go forward here. But let's bring in Elizabeth and Brian Allman. They are both here with us all today with you. We thank you for tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, X, wherever we are. We're all over the place. So make sure you're following that. Right.
Well, Net Daily is everywhere.
Yes, I love it. So we have to go through some of these clips here and get people up to speed because we, and Elizabeth, I know you've been doing a deep dive on Kamala here, and so I think it's really important to kind of set up the narrative. And so let's go through some of these clips here because Kamala Harris and her word salad. So when she goes off script, it's really entertaining because she just tries to grasp words out of the sky, and then once she has those words, she seems to then want to like rearrange them and say them again in a different way. So let's watch this first clip. This was recently when they were meeting the hostages, I think, when they were coming back from Russia. But let's look at this clip.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
and then she was talking. She was in Jamaica talking about COVID.
Let's just for a moment there because I was posting that last night and I couldn't. The way I was doing it, I couldn't type it out, and so I just never did because. But the words that. The power of diplomacy, and understanding the strength of the power, I think of it was. She just keeps repeating words, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even understand that because I'm not a great orator, but this is beyond belief. You'd think that she could write out one sentence, a clause, maybe a sentence with a connector in between, a compound sentence. So I was trying to say.
Well, it seems like even when she does have something in front of her to refer to, she still gets all jumbled up. Let's look at this clip in Jamaica when she's talking about COVID relief for Jamaican.
We also recognize, just as it has been in the United States for Jamaica, one of the issues that has been presented as an issue that is economic in the way of its impact has been the pandemic. So to that end, we are announcing today also that we will assist Jamaica in COVID recovery by assisting in terms of the recovery efforts in Jamaica that have been essential to, I believe, what is necessary to strengthen not only the issue of public health, but also the economy.
Okay, there's a couple things. She wants to be very smart, okay? She wants to sound profound, and this you can pick up on her just regularly, the way she speaks. I don't have any quotes memorized. It's very hard to memorize her quotes, okay? Other than I'll give Congress 100 days, and then... But she wants to sound smart, and I also believe that she very much agrees with the tactic or the tactic, I guess, to repeat words and repeat them and repeat them. And so she will repeat them multiple times. And I think sometimes she loses her way, so then she just keeps repeating, starting back at this other sentence and then starting the second sentence, which both have those words that she's repeating and trying to sound profound.
Yeah,
I think that's
failing.
part of it.
Yeah, Brian, what do you think?
I think Kamala Harris is a dumb person's idea of what a smart person sounds like. It's like when you see script writers in Hollywood who you can only write as smart as you are, but they're supposed to write a genius, so they just fill it with give somebody's dialogue full of filler words that really don't mean anything, but they sound like they might mean something really profound. This is obviously somebody who has failed upward her entire career. She checks the right boxes when it comes to what leftists are looking for, ethnicity and gender and repeating the same opinions that they want to hear. But she very much wants to sound like she knows what she's talking about, and
yeah, and she fails miserably, Brian.
Yeah, well, to those of us who are actually, I think, have a little bit of intelligence, it sounds ridiculous. But if if you're just I don't know, a leftist voter, maybe
she's also talking
TV,
down to people.
Oh yes, very much so.
Ukraine is a country. Russia is also a country, and it's a big country.
Well, it's because she thinks she's smarter than everyone else.
Right.
She thinks she's the smartest person in the room, so she has to talk down to you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, I know we're talking about word salad here, but in my research, and this is not, I mean, a lot of people know this, but when she was Attorney General, her staff was required when she came in the morning to all stand at attention, like all stand up in a line when she would come in, and they have to say, "Good morning, General." Okay, I know that sounds insane. Good, because at the moment I kept thinking, why are they saying "Good morning, General"? And then I had to put Attorney General together, and she explained that no one was to look her in the eye other than senior staff. So they had to look down, away, be properly humbled. So that's kind of a little part of the looking down.
Yes, and we're gonna now, and we're gonna tease more of that coming up here in a second. So let's look at this next clip. This is her in Poland, or at least speaking about Poland. And so get ready, clear your palate. This is another nice word salad for you to taste.
I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank and our NATO allies, and what is at stake at this very moment. What is at stake this very moment are some of the guiding principles around the NATO alliance.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to jump in first, because when she kept saying flank and then she says steak, and I was thinking, is this like a code word for flank steak? And it's a word salad. We've got a whole meal here.
You got a whole meal, Elizabeth. Yes, you're right. Oh, what a great catch. Oh my! I mean, we could go on and on about with all of these things. Let's show this. And these are clips that I haven't seen before, so it's nice to have.
I didn't see that one before. That was good.
Yeah, but of course, one of her most famous ones is talking about the significance of the passage of time. So just to have your nice favorite dessert at the end, let's listen to this clip, and then we'll hear from Michael Malice here in a moment too.
The governor and we were all doing a tour of the library here, and talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And
yeah, it's just, all of this to say that there appears to be two different theories, you guys, which is she really is clueless. She doesn't know what she's doing. But we're going to get into it in a second here, that there might be some deeper meaning to some of the things that she's saying, and that there might be some not necessarily ulterior motives, but that we're maybe being a little bit distracted by some of this. But do you? I mean, honestly, when you watch her speak like this, is it really? Could she be faking it?
I'm not sure if she's faking it, but it's entirely possible that she, like we were saying, she's talking down, that she thinks that she's talking at the level of her audience, and that she has. So, I'm in the meetings with all the important people and we talk about important things, so I'm going to come and explain it to you in a way that you can understand. I don't know. Maybe that's a possibility.
I also believe that there's an affectation here, and so people are smart at different things. I think Kamala is smart. She has a high IQ in manipulation. She knows her. I think she knows what her goals are, and she's going to achieve them. And she'll take orders, and she'll execute them, and she'll do what she has to do. Maybe you can call that smarts. I don't think that she's particularly intelligent necessarily on geopolitical strategies or negotiation or whatever. I can't tell. Maybe she does have a facade there and she's this brilliant person in the back and she just comes off. Why would anybody want to come off dumb though? That I think it's a talking down thing. But she is affecting something and she's taking orders and it's just, I don't know, it's a game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's watch. We don't have to watch this whole clip, but let's get a little bit of a taste, and we'll post it up on X, on WND, on X, and share this full clip here of Michael Malice. Michael Malice has a theory, and so let's watch some of this, and feel free to stop it at any point throughout this, you guys, if you want to say something. But let's listen to it.
Right. If you're going after Officer Harris, you're either racist or sexist or ableist.
Right.
So they will use
Ableist.
Yeah, because she's a retard. She's literally retarded. I mean, Ukraine is a country in Europe, and Russia is another country and a powerful country, and Russia invaded Ukraine, and that's wrong.
What's really important?
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
I think of her as America's wine mom because bitch seems like she's 3 deep by noon, and she's got the 3 phases of wine mom. She's got happy drunk. Oh my God, this cereal's got a rabbit on it. It's so great. Cackling, cackling, cackling.
Look at my bus! Oh my God, I love it. Oh wow. Look at the bus. Wheels on the bus go round and round.
Then there is trying to drunk at work, where you're trying to make sense, but you don't. Space is around us all and unites us all and inspires us all.
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
Space is exciting. It spurs our imaginations, and it forces us to ask big questions. Space, it affects us all, and it connects us all.
And
Brian, he goes on. This is so great. I mean, it's a fantastic breakdown analysis. So we're going to share it over on X. You guys got to watch the whole thing. But I think you're right, Brian. I think Elizabeth, both of you guys, I think she's just talking down to us because she thinks she's the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually listening to the Rogan and Malice interview on the way in back home this morning. I have not gotten to that part yet, but now I know what I have to look forward to.
Yes.
I don't know. I think that I can't imagine that she's actually drunk. I don't think she's drunk. I think that the things that she says, I think that she thinks she is so profound. And I think she wants to be like an Obama, but a Kamala Obama. She wants to have you ever noticed that she says, okay, I wasn't sure if that was just my imagination, but I think she wants to be profound, and I think it's very hard. I love the way you said it, Brian. Was it like, this is what dumb people think smart people sound like? Or that was, I thought, perfect. And I think that she's putting this together, but it's complex. I mean, I can't get my brain wrapped around saying those things without stumbling over it. So I don't think she's wasted.
Well, James Lindsay has a different take. If you guys know James Lindsay, he was talking with Charlie Kirk, and to set this next clip up, let's refresh everybody's memory with this particular line where she talks about being unburdened by things of the past. Let's watch a little bit of this line here.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can.
Yeah, so this is a line this is probably her most famous line that she continuously repeats. And we all, I think a lot of folks have been, what does this even mean? It's another word salad, but there is meaning behind this. And let's watch James Lindsay kind of break this down a little bit, and then let's really get into the meat of the matter here.
Vice President Harris will say repeatedly, what is the quote? The quote is that we can see what can be unburdened by what has been. Is that word salad or Marxism? It's Marxism. That is, in fact, not at all word salad. It is a Marxist, as I said on Twitter the other day and got mocked relentlessly by the media for this. I said it's a Marxist incantation, as a matter of fact. It's like a spell. So you can see the possibility of a world that's unburdened from its own history, which is exactly what Mao Zedong did when he launched the campaign of Smash the Four Olds, the four old characteristics of Chinese society. They were going to make a new China that was going to be unburdened by what had been in the past of China. This is what the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, did when they took over power in Russia, is that they were going to make the new Russia. They're going to make the new man, as a matter of fact. People could become unburdened by what has been so that they could see what could possibly be in the terms of a socialist utopia. So, Madam Vice President, when she says that, I assume, given that her father was a Marxist and a professor, I assume she knows what she's saying, and I don't buy her Idiot Valley speak shtick one bit. I think she's far more smart and far more savvy than conservatives have given her credit for, and she is an outright Marxist. It is very, very clear in her language, and that's what the Democrats want to nominate for president right now, which is kind of horrifying.
Elizabeth, I know you, like I said, you've been doing a deep dive on this. So what do you take? What do you take from that?
We are going to be doing an entire whistleblower special edition on a comprehensive special edition on every single stance that Kamala has made or taken, every policy that she has confirmed and embraced, everything that she's ever, her actions as well, like going to Europe to stop the war, the invasion of Ukraine. You saw how that worked. Going to Central America and telling them as a strong leader, a fearful leader, fearless leader, fearful not to come to the borders of America. All of her stances and her ideologies, we're going to lay it out, make everything linkable so you can go to every single quote that is out there. And our entire team of editors and writers is working on this right now. And so I thought I would start with a deep dive myself on her Marxist, Maoist past and her formation. And I am so shocked because I thought she was a communist, right? I mean, communists are so dangerous. They are as great a threat to America as Islamism is to Europe right now and will be someday if they get their way. But she's not just a communist. She's not just a Marxist. She's not just a Maoist. She was raised by a Marxist professor who was chosen, who was hired by his university because he was the best communists they could find. They didn't have enough communists, and they said, we need to get the finest communists. And it wasn't that when she went off to school, she got involved in, socialist ideologies and embraced that. No. She was raised from the cradle, from the breast. She was given the milk of communism from her infancy. And she would go at the ages of 8 and 9 years of age every week with her mommy and probably her sister. I think her sister's Maya, right? And listen to communist dogma speeches. Now, That's profound, because what we learn, my kids were forced to get up early in the morning. We did an hour and a half of prayer and Bible study. Okay. That's what my kids were raised in. Kamala was raised in on the milk of Marxist ideology from her infancy. That's scary, and that does not leave you. That does
Yeah.
not leave you.
Yeah,
Unless
I
she
mean,
comes up and said, I had a born again experience. I'm a new woman. I used to do that, but I utterly reject these ideologies, and then change everything. We know they're still there. What she is craftily doing, I don't think it's that crafty in the sense, it's only crafty in the sense that the ignorant will fall for it, is she's changing every single thing that she believes temporarily. And when she is in behind the resolute desk, day one,
God
she will
forbid.
be a dictator, not
Yeah.
like Donald Trump, like like a real
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, God forbid. Brian, you're a student of history and Marxism, and watching these folks play chameleon with the American people. What do you think's going on here?
Well, with respect to James Lindsay, I don't think she's necessarily a Machiavellian Marxist who's secretly dumbing herself down to sneak these ideas in. I think, like Elizabeth was saying, this is just the world she's grown up in. I remember Steve Saylor wrote a lot about the childhood of Barack Obama and his parents and where he came from. His dad was a Kenyan who was fighting, probably connected to the CIA at some point against various other groups. His mother went to actually met him at the East-West Institute, which was this college that was going to train up people to essentially impose globalism on the world. It was connecting people from different cultures to be the new leadership class. And Saylor thought that Obama was on a trajectory for being like a State Department guy, a diplomat, but then suddenly he caught lightning in a bottle and became president. I think Kamala Harris is like a less charismatic, less intelligent version of Barack Obama, in that she's also comes from that world. Her father's Jamaican, her mother's Indian. They both met in America. They her father is very much a Marxist. Grew up in Canada, came back to California. She's very cosmopolitan. She doesn't have loyalty to any one place. She's not Indian. She's not Jamaican. She's not fully African American. She's not fully American. She's kind of one of these citizens of the world that a lot of leftists and even people on the right sometimes think that they should be. This idea that we transcend nationality, we're above nationalism. We're we're looking for we're human beings, and we're going to create a better world for everybody. But that usually ends up meaning,
Hey, when you're on a plane and you
totalitarianism.
look down, there are no lines dividing countries, right? Yeah, I have my globalist passport. I'm a woman of the world. Oh my gosh. Well said, Brian.
You got this system that's been in place for a long time now, and it selects people like Kamala Harris who they have the right background, they have the right beliefs. Like you said, some families start each day with Bible study, and that's the world they grew up in. That's the water that they swim in. Whereas for somebody like her, it's Marxism, it's leftism, it's totalitarianism, globalism, and that's her underlying belief system. Even if she's not the most articulate about it, that forms the foundation of her worldview. And so the system selects someone like that who can then carry that out. And, obviously we saw with the last 3.5 years of President Biden, he's not really in charge. He's just the figurehead for this unaccountable, deep state bureaucracy. And that's what she's trying to be too. She won't be calling the shots. She'll just be carrying out the will of the State Department and the lobbyists and,
But it
whoever
will be
else
the
is
will
power.
that she desires.
Oh, sure.
No, she's not
definitely on
the
board with it.
great mastermind behind it all. But talking about being selected, if anybody thinks that's really not a thing, because we all know that Obama was handpicked. Kamala's been handpicked as well. But I will show you a picture of my husband, Joseph Francis Farah. This is him in college, Patterson University. Okay, so I would have fallen in love with him if I had met him when I was a teenager, because that would have been just like adorable to me. But anyway, this is another artifact of his age. This is Mao's little red book. Wow. My husband was a left-wing radical. He was charismatic. He had a big smile, and he handsome. And they came to his high school. to recruit him, to put him through university. And what they would do is he would be working for them as either a professor or in the government or whatever. And now he was a total, complete believer. And we should do a documentary on his background, the stuff that he did. But he didn't bite on that. And I don't know why. I have no idea. And thank goodness when Ronald Reagan ran the second time, by that time he had had an epiphany, same time as my mother, and voted for Ronald Reagan and changed everything in his life. But what Kamala and Obama, what you just explained to us, Brian, about her upbringing and Obama's upbringing and training and the parents' influence is this. What they have been doing, dismantling patriotic, deeply historical, and obviously biblical, because biblical is the history of this country's formation and our constitutional government and the principles underneath it or undergirding it, by eviscerating that, completely wiping it out. What they have done in the reverse is stripped of all of our children of any of the loyalties that Kamala has to Maoism and Marxism, that Obama have to that. Now, see, they are out there fighting for that because that's their foundation. Our kids' foundation, most Americans, is America is evil, and they don't know 5 founding fathers' names and what they did. They don't know the foundation of our country. They don't know the belief system that created the prosperity and the good and the justice that we have in this nation. So they can be overwritten. They are just a blank CD-ROM that can be overwritten by a new program or DVD.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, we have someone like JD Vance running who was raised completely differently. People know his story now, and he was down at the southern border getting his first look while a candidate for the vice president of the United States, and he offered some remarks. So let's watch this first clip of what he's been witnessing while at the border.
They started their administration. Kamala Harris came into office making promises, and she kept those promises to open the American southern border. They stopped deportations on day one. They stopped construction of the border wall on day one. We see the border wall sitting here, ready to be completed behind us, and that can't happen because of Kamala Harris's administration. They reinstated catch and release, and they stopped remain in Mexico. So all of these asylum claimants who come to our border, they can now get released into our country because they're not forced to stay in Mexico while we adjudicate their asylum claims. And we have to remember that as terrible and idiotic as these policies were, they cause real human beings to suffer.
I mean, this is, first of all, coming off of the last segment with all those clips from Kamala, what a refreshing voice to listen
Full
to.
sentences
Somebody who's
with periods and capital letters.
Exactly. But having him down at the border and getting his perspective on this is extremely important, especially. And I want to get your perspective on this too, Brian. But let's throw it up on a side by side. We have this clip here, and I had not seen this before. But folks, this is your federal government using a bulldozer to raise barbed wire that Texas put down to stop the illegal migration that's going on here. Your federal government came in and lifted the wire so that they could get underneath here. What is this? Anybody have an answer? I mean, this is criminal.
What do you want there? Treason, sedition?
Name it.
The government has decided that in our republic, in our democratic system, that the people are not voting correctly, and so they are going to elect a new people. They're going to bring in people who are more compliant with their agenda, who are not going to make such a fuss. And it really is, old Americans, people like JD Vance's family who have lived here for generations, who, lived in the Appalachians, lived in Ohio for, 100 years, 200 years. They're the ones who will complain about the agenda of our leaders, of the totalitarian globalist agenda. So they're going to bring in other people. And, somebody like JD Vance, he has loyalty to his family, to his ancestors, to what his people built. Whereas Kamala Harris, dad's from Jamaica, mother's from India. She's been raised in this cosmopolitan globalist environment. You know, she's not going to have any loyalty to America as a people. And that's exactly what JD Vance said in his speech at the RNC, that America is a people. It's not just an idea. But if it is just an idea, then, you know, well, maybe that idea can change, and we can, it can be anything. It can be whatever you want. It can be, you know, unencumbered by what has been.
I'm sorry. We talk about this every day. We study it. We report on it. This is what we do. But no matter how used to it you get, you are never used to it. Because I guess it would be like saying, if your home was invaded by some masked marauders and they were all armed with various, knives and guns, and you saw them a lot, because they stayed with you. Well, that rifle, that axe, that gun, whatever, that's still going to bother you. You get used to it, but the truth of the matter is that this is a threat to your home. It is a violent threat. Kamala Harris, her agenda, the agenda behind the entire Democratic Party, is an existential threat, because the Democratic Party isn't my grandpa's Democratic Party anymore. My grandpa came over on a wagon train when he was a baby. My family came from Ireland. They came from Sweden, 100, 150 years ago. And they built something in this country. They were dirt poor people, especially my Irish family. Dirt poor people, and they built something. And they have a heritage. We all have a birthright. And when we're born, that birthright is the Constitution of the United States and a Republican form of government. Nobody has a right to take that away by importing 20 to 40 million, because there was like many millions before Biden came in, to replace us and change their vote, change this to a uniparty where the Democrats are the ruling party forever.
Yeah. And
no way, man.
Yeah, you're both raising the exact same point that JD Vance pointed out when he was at the border and had a press conference. Let's watch this last clip before we move on to the Olympics here.
The why, you don't have to guess at it because they say it. Now, of course, they accuse Republicans of racism for saying this, but you just take the Democrats' own words. They say that they want to import millions of illegal aliens, give them the right to vote, give them amnesty, and then they don't have to worry about persuading their own citizens anymore, because they then have imported a new group of voters. And it's really scandalous if you think about, why wouldn't you want to persuade your own people that you have the best policies to improve their lives? It shows how they completely disrespect their own countrymen.
I mean, there it is. And that sets up the dynamic here. That shows exactly why it's so important that people need to go out and vote. I mean, regardless of what you think of where the elections are, if you don't show up to vote, then they've got nothing to cheat against. So you have to show up to vote, even if you think they're going to cheat. Make it hard for them. We have to show up to vote. And this is the dynamic that's happening here. We don't do this. And I think JD Vance and the things that you guys have pointed out will
Brian's
come to
right.
fruition.
It is so refreshing to hear somebody speak sense and intelligently, and it warms the cockles of my heart to hear somebody like that.
I would even say, even in comparison to President Trump, I mean, Trump has his way of speaking, and a lot of times you can break it down and say he's fumbling or whatever, but largely he's articulate. You can understand what he's saying, but it comes with a brashness. It comes with a lot of vibrato, and so having somebody like
Cicero,
Vance, right? Exactly, but someone like
Cicero
Vance
sounded like in real life. He isn't the great orator in that sense, but he connects with the people. And there's a little bit of a theory out there that this laughing. I saw an interview with, oh my gosh, what's her name? It'll come to me. I'm having a Biden moment. Instead of a senior moment, we'll start saying I'm having a Biden moment. But she was explaining that for young people, she's a beautiful young blonde young woman, girl to me, and she was saying they think Kamala, young kids, are embracing Kamala because she's like a regular person, laughing, joking around, and relatable. Relatable was the word she used. And this person who was interviewing her on an, I won't go into the network. Anyway, that really bothered him. It really, really bothered him. And I understand why, because the reality is that Donald Trump has the right ideas. He has the will, the power, and the drive to, and the love of his country, to do these things, and the work ethic, which none of which Kamala Harris has. But she's doing this, she's got her girls on, twerking behind her, and she's laughing, girl, she's doing all this stuff. She's relatable to young, stupid people, to young people that don't understand that this is an affectation. I don't think Kamala really twerks, but she's going to pose as a twerker. And Donald Trump, everybody loves Donald Trump, but this is authentic for him. He is relatable. He's a regular guy who worked his butt off and made himself a tremendous success, first in business and then in politics. But he's relatable. He's that regular guy. Kamala is playing a game trying to mimic him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. They're both, Trump and Vance are both relatable, and I think that's a great way to wrap up this segment.
Biological male punch the lights out of a woman on national TV. It's absolutely absurd, but it's also, kind of shows where our society's gone. And in that same interview with Rogan, Michael Malice was saying that he thinks that this is going to be treated like lobotomies are today, that it's, how could people have thought that this was a good idea?
Oh, I saw that comment somewhere. Well, probably on X. That really, it reminds me of how we talk about pro-life issues, and fast forward 100 years, and people will look back and say, as they did with slavery, why? They will wonder, why did we, all of us, allow abortion? Why didn't we just go in there and, end it? And of course, you can't do that, or else you go to prison. You can't just shut down an abortion clinic yourself and blah, blah, blah. But it's true. We're going to be shocked someday, because this will not stand. And what disgusts me is the approach that AP took on this. You mentioned that there may be like confusion or some medical condition with his chromosomes. That whole story is such a gaslighting story. It's a lie, because that guy is a guy. And I was reading AP to get a flavor of what others were saying about him. He's an Algerian from the rural northwestern Algeria. And AP actually says this. Her father, okay, look at this guy. This guy has got the brow, he's got the Adam's apple, he's got the muscles, the speed, and the power, and the look in his face. There is nothing female about that XY chromosomal man. But AP says her father initially didn't approve of girls participating in boxing. Really?
So we're going to teach them a lesson. Is that what this is? Maybe this is a lesson.
But his father didn't initially approve of girls. In other words, his daughter, son, participating in boxing. But Khalif said she gave up soccer as a teenager to pursue her new passion, even though she had blah, 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 blah. So this person is a man, and we're supposed to be speaking of him as a her. And I don't feel any qualms about calling out this transgender nightmare. The Bible, by the way, explicitly says that women cannot dress as men and men cannot dress as women. That is in the Torah. And, God has a reason for that kind of a commandment, because I mean, I agree with it. I happen to be on his side on this.
Well, we're all. Oh, go ahead,
I was just
Brian.
going to say real quick, the East German teams where they stacked the women's teams with men used to be a joke, but nobody's laughing anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. All right. Well, I want to leave with this clip. So we'll say goodbye here. But there was every time you see somebody at a school board meeting, it's going to be a fantastic clip. And so this father was at a school board meeting talking about how we can't be affirming these delusions, and we wouldn't do this with anything else. And so after he goes through a long list of trying to show a school board that there are tons of instances where transgender boys, girls, whatever you want to call them, are in the girls' locker room or in the girls' bathroom committing violence. After that, he sets up what should be the final word on this matter as we try and get a hold of the madness that has captured this. So we thank you for watching. Please follow us over on X, on Rumble. Go to our Rumble channel, and we will see you here next week. On behalf of Elizabeth and Brian, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Now, it should also be noted that in each of these cases, each of these perpetrators had either changed their pronouns, had undergone transition, or had received gender-affirming therapy and accommodations thereof. Why is this important to note? Probably for the same reason we recognize as a society that you do not affirm that people with anorexia can be healthy in any way. You do not affirm that somebody with schizophrenia is hearing voices. And you do not affirm that somebody in a manic episode is having great ideas. Because when you leave somebody to languish in their false mental state, i.e. men who think they are women, they will inevitably lash out and harm themselves and those around them. People hurt other people. But I don't want to pretend and have the hubris to think that I'm going to be the one to change your mind. I'm happy to share any and all of these examples with you. But you will most likely leave here tonight believing that men can become women, affirming care works, and that you made the right vote. But you will no longer be able to look into the eyes of your constituents and honestly say that you are unaware of the assaults that inevitably take place when we declare to women, you have no right to privacy. Thank you very much.
Poor hubby. Poor hubby.